It's just after midnight on March 18, 2003. A convoy of 3 white tractor trailers rolls through the empty streets of Baghdad. There are no checkpoints. The few soldiers on duty don't ask questions. The trucks have an escort. In the lead vehicle is a 36-year-old man in a dark suit. His name is Qusay Hussein. He is the second son of Saddam Hussein, and the man his father has chosen to inherit the country. In his pocket is a handwritten note, 2 paragraphs, signed by Saddam himself. The convoy stops outside the Central Bank of Iraq. In just over 5 hours, Qusay Hussein will walk out of that building with the largest amount of cash ever stolen from a single bank in human history. The Central Bank of Iraq is a 6-story sandstone building on Rashid Street, a few blocks from the Tigris River. By 2003, it has been the heart of Saddam's economy for almost 25 years. United Nations sanctions have crippled the country, but inside the bank's vault sits something the sanctions could not touch: the regime's hard currency reserves, American $100 bills, euro notes still warm from the press, gold bars stacked in shrink-wrapped pallets. Most of it was meant to be untouchable. By Iraqi law, the central bank's reserves can only be moved with the written authorization of the president. That morning, the president has just provided one. In Washington, U.S. President George W. Bush has given Saddam 48 hours to leave Iraq or face invasion. The deadline expires at 8 p.m. Baghdad time on March 19th. Saddam has no intention of leaving, but he is preparing. At around 4 a.m., Qusay enters the bank with a small team. The governor of the bank, Issam al-Huwaish, is woken at home and brought in to authorize the transfer. He reads the note. He recognizes the signature. He has no choice. The vault is opened. Inside are stacks of U.S. $100 bills, bundled into bricks of $10,000 each, then shrink-wrapped into pallets of $1 million. There are approximately $920 million in cash. There are also around 90 million euros in fresh 100-euro notes. The total is just over $1 billion US. It takes more than 2 hours to move the money. Bank staff form a human chain. The bricks are carried up from the vault, loaded onto handcarts, wheeled through the lobby, and stacked onto the 3 waiting trucks. By 6 a.m., the trucks are full. Qusay signs the receipt. Then the convoy disappears into the city. By the time the sun is up over Baghdad, the central bank is empty. 2 days later, on the night of March 19th, the first American cruise missiles strike the city. The U.S.-led invasion of Iraq has begun. In the chaos that follows, the heist is almost forgotten. For 3 weeks, U.S. forces fight their way north toward the capital. Saddam's regime collapses on April 9th. American troops topple the statue of Saddam in Firdos Square. Looters pour into government buildings, presidential palaces, and the central bank itself. Every safe deposit box in the country is broken open. By the time American military police reach the central bank vault, it has been ransacked twice, first by Qusay, then by ordinary Iraqis. The official records of the night of March 18th have vanished. Then on April 18th, 3 weeks after the fall of Baghdad, a tip comes in. A team of American soldiers from the 3rd Infantry Division is sent to one of Saddam's palaces in central Baghdad. Inside a small annex building, behind a false wall, they find a hidden room. It contains 40 sealed metal boxes. When they open them, they find shrink-wrapped pallets of American $100 bills, bricks of 10,000, stacks of 1 million. The total comes to about $650 million. Over the following days, more is found. Tens of millions in another palace, tens of millions more in a second hiding place across the river. By the end of April, the U.S. military has recovered approximately $900 million in cash. Almost all of the dollars taken from the central bank, but not all, around $200 million, much of it in euros, was never recovered. So how does an entire national reserve disappear in 5 hours and reappear 3 weeks later packed into metal boxes inside a presidential palace? The most accepted theory is the simplest. Saddam never planned to keep the money outside the country. He planned to bury it inside it. He believed, like his father-in-law Khairal Atalfa had taught him, that the regime would survive the invasion, that he would retreat, regroup, and come back. The money was meant to fund that comeback. The vault wasn't the safest place to keep it. The palace was. Saddam controlled the palace. He did not control the bank. Where dozens of staff knew the contents of the safe and where international auditors could, in theory, demand access. So on the eve of war, he had his son withdraw it, legally, on paper, with a signed note, witnessed by the bank governor. It wasn't a robbery in the criminal sense. It was a state withdrawal. That is what makes it the largest bank heist in history. The regime that owned the bank stole from the bank that the regime owned. Qusay Hussein was killed by U.S. forces in Mosul on July 22, 2003, 4 months after the heist. His brother died in the same firefight. Saddam was captured in December and executed 3 years later. Issam al-Huwaish, the bank governor, fled Iraq during the invasion. He was eventually located by U.S. authorities and provided a detailed account of the night. He was never charged. He had, after all, been operating under presidential order at the point of a gun. Of the recovered money, the United States Federal Reserve verified the serial numbers. A significant portion of the bills were sequential, drawn from the same shipments the United States had sent to Iraq through the United Nations Oil for Food program in the 1990s. The bills had been routed through Jordan, deposited into the central bank, and never circulated. Effectively, Saddam had stolen money that the international community had given him. The 200 million in euros that disappeared has never been recovered. There are theories. Some believe it was buried in a desert location only Qusay knew. Others believe it was smuggled across the Syrian border in the final hours before the bombing. A small portion may simply have been taken by individual soldiers and bank staff during the chaos and slowly laundered into circulation. 23 years later, the money is still missing. Somewhere in the world, in a vault, a wall, or a dry hole in the desert, sits the last unaccounted for piece of the largest bank heist in history.